In class. Yes, but for that, at least half of the syllabus has to go through. But not every class I'll do, once or twice in a week. Why I'll do that? It will be work on your side only then, not on my side. But then, yes, we did a lot of, the problem is physically only 3 of you are here. That's another point. 3 out of 27, 1/9, 1/10. We can do it, but then hybrid mode mein how effective, we can try it as an exercise sometime, but hybrid mode mein we'll have to see. I think for that everyone really needs to be physically present. At least half of the class. I'm not saying 27, 10, 12, 14, kuch like, because that's the point. You remember sometimes I used to enter the class, group discussion, everyone sitting like that. That's the USP, that's the advantage of a physical class after all. So we are resorting to this, and this looks quite monotonous, quite plain. I get that, but then I'll still do it in a hybrid form. Acha, and for today evening, I will expect your help and cooperation in that. You are on number 1 in my list. I will talk to Dave sir about it. Please be there. I know you might be there unofficially, but then that's fine. I mean, if we know you are there, so, but please be there and be around if you don't mind. Yeah, and get people also, because it's an event which is being led by international students that we know, and they are arranging and organizing, but they would want certain kind of participation also. I think yesterday, not on your group, but on his classmates group, Isaac shared a message as well. I'll show that message to you. So if feasible, especially you, I'm talking to because you stay here in campus. So please be there, okay? Just 1 hour each, these 3 days. Third day, we will do a bigger event with the registrar sir, Rajesh Patel sir, and Dhananjay Singh sir, just to let you know. Because yesterday we were working out certain technical logistics and other things, and it figured out that we need some Indians. So I thought, let me ask Ronak only to, it's a small little bit of task for someone to be around. So I'm expecting your volunteership in this, in case. I know I'm talking in formal language, but that's about it. So as the topic suggests, election system in United States, we are entering more into the detail of the way elections are held in American democracy, in American federal democracy, let's say, right? Federal democracy, federation, there are many ways to call it. And that's why we are addressing that as like, how did the party system begin? Initially, during the election of 1800, we had Federalist Party versus Democratic Republican Party. Democratic and Republican were quite merged historically, and that's how it started under the leadership of Thomas Jefferson, who won that election, and that was the creation of party system in the United States. He emerged victorious over Federalist Party. Yeah, that reminds me, I know since Ronak is present here offline, online students, those who are in the hostel, you all have to be present in the Zenj Leadership Boot Camp today, right?
Registered, sir.
Yeah, all of you who are in campus in the hostel, it's just for an hour, 1 hour event. Kelvin, Arif.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you all know about it, right?
Yes, sir, we are aware.
And please be there, right? And please be there also to help us. Fine? Arif,
all right, sir.
Yeah, she's around. Why did she? If I heard correctly, she said yes, sir. But
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
you-
registered for it.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we'll be looking forward to your participation. Thank you. And I will also send a word out later about that. So that's how, I mean, Federalist Party versus Democrat Republican under Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson has been really one of the very important founding fathers of the way American democracy has been constructed, of the way American democracy works. Right. That's one. Over a period of time, definitely more voting rights were given to, more and more voting rights were given to different sections of population. I have shared the slideshow wala thing. Like, I hope you can see the second slide, because sometimes I do the slideshow and you can you see the slide? As time goes by, more and more Americans are allowed to vote. Hello. Why only one person always responding? Others can, even if you don't want to speak. Yes,
sir.
thank you, Raman. Yes, you are, I mean, Raman, Aditi. I mean, just like, write a quick chat or something if you don't want to unmute. You can see this slide, right? As time goes by, how more voting rights were further granted to different sections of the population. Right. So that's quite reflective of the population demographics of the way we have seen American history. Columbus discovered America, right? That's all we study in school. I think in Vasco da Gama discovered sea link to India. He was Portuguese. He started from Lisbon, and then he, quite late, but he can't do this. Manas Agrawal. Anyway, that's the and Columbus discovered America, and then it was mostly the European settlers who settled the entire America. I mean, the United States of America has had its own strong history, the way its society has grown. There are states in US, and in US federation, the power to the states is much stronger to the power of the states that we have in India. That's why the nature of federation is more strong. The nature of the federation is more strict, right? But even the population of US is a mixed population. A lot of African Americans, Hispanics, that's another word we use for them. Sharing it here. I mean, I know you are not doing a major in pol science, but people who pursue pol science further, when they do specialization in American studies, then you get to know all these things. So 15th Amendment gave African American men the right to vote. 18th Amendment gave women the right to vote. There are many interesting movies which have been made on the racism, the history of racism in the 12 Years a Slave. Very interesting film. You've seen it. You've seen. It's a very good movie. That just comes to, you haven't seen it. I know that. You've seen it? Why do you say very good in a very superficial way? You've seen that movie, 12 Years a Slave. You can see it. I'm not, because he responded naturally. Maybe he's heard of, you've heard of it at least. 12 Years a Slave. I mean, and that's why, and then we know the role that was played by Martin Luther King in the race movement, in racism, and he was, huh? Yes, absolutely. He gave the speech, I Have a Dream. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's the Indian setting of it. But the point is, the point is, and recently we had that movement, Black Lives Matter. You remember that? That was a major incident. So still in I think in first semester I had talked to you about this aspect that United States of America may be a superpower, but there is always this idea of America's declining social capital. America's declining social capital. That was an article written on the fact that how, as a society, they have really not progressed because of the increasing gun culture. Getting a license and to have a gun is very easy in the US, actually, unlike here, unlike in India and many other places. So, but then, okay, that's about United States, Black Lives Matter, the way the society has seen discrimination against these sections of the society has given way. So that's why this legal constitutionality is very, very important. Legality and the constitutionality is very, very important because that gives you recognition, not just a right, that gives you a recognition in a formal sense to exercise your basic rights as citizens of a country, so that democracy does not remain anymore a joke, does not remain anymore a mockery. Like it should not be like I know democracy is always filled with or riddled with challenges. In Indian democracy also we are seeing that, we have seen that, and still it's like a progressive movement always. So giving rights to African American, first the men, then the women, etc. I mean, these are the things that are laying the framework for the way parties emerged in the United States. And since decades and ages, it is these two parties which have mainly been at the forefront, and that's why it is strongly a bi-party system. I have done this classification with you in semester 1, BI hyphen, not BY. Many of you in some answers have written that. I don't know your batch. Some of them have even written BYE. That's the spelling actually for by-election. By-election, okay, now I'm confused. By-election is BYE or BY? I think it's BY. E is in none of them. But some of them had written the answers either from your class, that bi-party system. Like, yeah. The Democrats and the Republicans, the major parties that we always hear of. And that's why there are many advantages at times as well when we are speaking of that why should we have a bi-party system rather than a multi-party system. India in between was really plagued with, especially the decade of 90s. We have done political history of the country. It was all multi-party coalition politics. Even when Vajpayee government just survived for 15 days, 1998, I think was the year. That's how we are understanding. So the Democrats and the Republicans, right? But then what is the basic framework on which the elections work? No, these are the symbols. Okay, why 3 stars in one? It's a symbolic thing. I haven't gone into the detail of this, but it's just a symbolic representation. It's not like Democrats are highly rated as that's an intelligent inquiry, but I have not gone into the detail that what goes into framing their symbolic representations of an elephant and a horse. As if, so it's not like are the Republicans like elephants and are the Democrats like horses. But then this distinction between the stars, because see, American flag, as you can see at the background, is always with red and white stripes and stars against a blue background, right? United States of America. Even many presidents of America like Barack Obama, who overall have performed better than Donald Trump, let's say, are always going in for this American idea, American nationalism. Actually, these are some of the aspects. We will discuss one-time presidencies, very interesting topic. You will definitely be interested that how some presidencies have been much more effective than the others. And also when we do impeachment, we will talk about scandals then, how scandals have led to. So, but then there is this American patriotism that has always acted as a criticism against many successful American presidents as well. That's the main point that we are trying to understand.
They usually use the phrase living the American dream.
Yes, living the American dream. There are many songs on it. Hollywood movies, pop albums, and also the way United States has been, it has been a free capitalist liberal democracy since ever. Okay, I remember my PhD lectures, that Italian teacher used to give us examples of living an American dream, giving a case study of this popular singer Madonna, a legendary popular singer Madonna, who just, a lady like her, she is originally Italian, who migrated from Italy to US with just a guitar and like a nomad. She was nothing, and gradually then how did she become a star? So that's like living an American dream of, and that happens to many many actors of black skin color as well. Many actors of black skin, for example, Oprah Winfrey, that famous Oprah Winfrey show, right? So, but then when we have movements like Black Lives Matter, we just see that how some states, because there are some states in United States of America where 50-50 is the population of blacks versus the whites. And that's where these problems are most of the time, actually. Because I've been to US twice, and most of the times it's there in these kind of states. Then some states are white skin dominated, some states are black skin. I'm not talking about cosmopolitan cities like Los Angeles, California, San Francisco. And I was on the East Coast, New York, Boston, and then West Coast, I was at Portland, Oregon, near Seattle. I was there while I traveled there because I was living in Canada. So I took an overnight bus from Canada to New York. But it's the same as if you travel from here to Udaipur. Itna hi time lagta hai. But it's not that expensive. It's not that expensive because many times there are student-friendly routes and buses as well. So anyone can easily use them. All these facilities are quite well in place there. But that's the point. You can imagine, yeah. We have primary elections and we have general elections. First, the primary, the voters nominate candidates for the general election. It's like a step-by-step thing in the US elections. Okay, voters are nominating candidates for the general election. And in the general election, voters make final decision about the candidate and issues. Everyone votes for who they want. Okay, first there is a major, maybe in one slide you will not be able to understand because it's a complex procedure. This is just a brief about it. In next slides, we will see it more in detail that actually what does happen in, on the left are basically, as you can see clearly, Trump and also other prominent, this Bobby Jindal on the left side, this one. No, this one is an Indian American on the left corner, bottom left corner. No, this is Trump. Yeah, where is, this is Hillary. This is Hillary. I don't see Bill Clinton here. I of course recognize. This is Barack Obama. This person, I don't, this is Donald Trump here. Oh, you can't see the cursor movement. I don't know why. Nahi hota usme. They can see me online on the cursor. So just keep this in mind. Keep this in mind as a preset. Primary elections and general elections. Then we will see in detail. Primary elections, voters are nominating candidates for the main general election. General election, they are making a final decision about the candidate and the issues. Because see, national public debates are very important in United States of America. Very, very important. Yes, they change the turn of events in favor of one against the other. And that's a massive one. That's a major one. Yeah, they do it differently. I don't want to be judgmental about it. Good or bad, sabka apna apna rehta hai. I mean, their context is like that. I mean, for example, in a country like United States, you can imagine everyone knows and speaks English and talk in English. In India, still, I mean, it's a fact. I mean, I don't have to explain it. So many parts where one language doesn't really go. I mean, that's the point. I mean, that's one thing. But then it's good. I appreciate what you said, but then I have to also see the downside of it with things that happened during the tenure of Donald Trump, in fact. General elections are used on the national level. Okay, this is an explanation about it. Then you to decide the president. They are also used on the state level to decide elections of officials or issues. These are random pictures. Okay, again, you can see that photo of Republican versus the Democrats, and issues like taxes, issues like Patriot Act, issues like LGBTQIA, issues like abortion. There was a big debate on abortion in US, where half of the states were in favor of legalizing it. They have seen all these kind of concerns, and half of them were not in favor of legalizing abortion, because they connect, the logic of legalization of abortion. You all know what abortion is, but one logic is it's related to religion. Many religious people feel and believe that it's a sin to end a life. That's the point. In India, it's illegal. Many of them get it done illegally only, whoever cases we know around. I mean, many live-in partners, and maybe you have, I think Rachna ma'am taught you this course on live-in laws or some. One of the courseworks you have. Usme. Acha, usme you might, I don't know if there is a clause or anything about that has to do with abortion, but abortion is illegal. It's simple. It's like it's a factor, and it's related to religion in that sense of not to end anyone's life without his or her consent, because if someone is in the womb, how can that person give a consent? But it's a living being. I mean, this is a very particular and a tricky issue that we are talking about here. I think this we discussed yesterday while you were doing some search, right? If you remember, when one of you read it out, that what are the basic requirements that one follows. Natural born citizen, US resident for 14 years, minimum 35 years of age. I think this is the same as Indian. Natural born citizen, for example, there are many Indian Americans whose kids are born there, so they already fulfill the first criteria. It's like that.
US resident for 14 years.
US resident for 14 years means yes, there are so many NRIs, family shifts here. I know of, even in my building here, once who is a faculty, his daughter was born in the US, but now she just stayed there 6 months, and now she does not fulfill the criteria, right? Just a second before I turn towards the primary election, and then we will make a distinction so that we know what is the difference between general elections. So general elections, as we have here also the term in India, national level, but they are also used on state level to decide election of officials on issues, right? But uske baad, now what is it about the primary one that we are talking about? Now what does the primary one do actually? Yes, that's another word we use. We call them caucuses. Caucuses are, as has been explained here, caucuses, CAUCUSES. It's a very technical word, particularly used for American presidential system. A town meeting where members of a party discuss who will represent them in the upcoming election. It's like that. And primary is a vote in a state to determine who will represent the party in the upcoming election. Candidates from each political party campaign throughout the country to win the favor of their party members. So there is, let me rephrase all this. There is a kind of in-party democratic feature as well. As we call in English, in-party, in-party. In-party democratic feature where within a party, they are now I will agree with you, like, yes, that's really being democratic. Within a party, you are, I mean, you see, that's the problem that happened in this new Aam Aadmi party. Still, it's surviving well because of the Delhi thing, but that really questioned the credentials of in-party democracy. So even within the party, each one of them are really sure of the other that, yes, he's more deserving than me, so let him go ahead. I don't have any, and because after all, it's about the party. Of course, there is a feature of solidarity there. Yeah. So primary elections and caucuses, candidates from each political party campaign to win throughout the country to win the favor of their party member. Primary is a vote in a state to determine who will represent the party in the upcoming election. So this is already held before general elections are held. Okay, before general elections are held. That's why we call it also a kind of indirect democracy. There is a distinction between direct democracy and indirect democracy. In India, we have a direct one because we directly elect our representatives and they are sitting in their Lok Sabha, members of the parliament. Whoever is an MP from Rajkot would be representing the constituency of Rajkot in the union legislature, in the central. Caucuses are, now that's another inbuilt system, town meeting where members of a party discuss who will represent them. Convention, before we move further into the general election. Every party holds a convention to select a final. Now you see, so basically what we are discussing is within parties, how they are organizing themselves, how they are managing themselves, how they are governing themselves. And that's why this is all part of the constitutional guarantee of the United States. It holds a convention to select a final presidential nominee. The presidential candidate then chooses a running mate, a vice president. These are classic pictures. Well, the popular ones were Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, but I don't know by photos. I think once I will show you all of their pictures. Once I'll show you the pictures of all the American presidents, especially right now is Joe Biden, we know Donald Trump, we know Barack Obama, we know Bill Clinton. I don't know how many of you know, but I know because I grew up seeing his presidency. So that's a national convention. Hillary Clinton, his wife, a very prominent name. And now we have many Indian Americans as well. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris she's of Tamil origin. Kamala Harris. Huh? That's another thing altogether. Hence, by the time there is the election, people in every state across the country vote for the president. So step by step, it comes down to the president. Structurally very different from the way we have elections here. Even here, they declare the leader of the, like, that's why we call it the Modi wave, no? In 2014. It was the Modi wave because he was, they had already many times, but in here, parties, if they decide, they may even not choose to publicize the name of the leader. Many times that has happened, and then they may appoint or designate someone as the leader of the ruling party. People in every state across the country vote for the president. When people cast their vote, they are actually voting for a group of people known as electors. Okay. Now, step 4 and 5 are kind of related. And this is the feature of indirect democracy. It's not very difficult now. Once we revise, recap, and once you read it again, you will understand. Step 4 and 5 are quite interrelated. And this is why we call it indirect democracy. General people across the vote for, people cast their, I told you, and they're actually voting for a group of people who are known as electors. Now, this is related to the point of electoral college. In the electoral college system, each state gets a certain number of electors based on its representation in Congress. So automatically, when you vote for those electors, they become a part of that. So electoral votes, representatives plus senators, each elector casts one vote following the general election, and the candidate who gets more than half wins. It's quite a mathematical thing in the sense it's indirect, as I said. So there are stages. So let's say when people in a state, if I am a citizen, I will cast my vote for an elector. Okay, and then my role ends there. Then I am not responsible. But already we know that why are we choosing that elector? Because that elector belongs to a group of people, which is a party, which has declared who will be their presidential candidate, etc., etc. So when they themselves cast their one vote, as has been said here, as part of the electoral college, comprising the US Congress, now that's where the fight is on. Like that's where, when it's about more than, in Joe Biden and Donald Trump, it was getting close. It finally got close, but still Joe Biden won by decent margin, which Trump could not digest. He said he will sue, and I don't know, all that. You remember that Trump went crazy and mad about the way. You have an idea now about the way elections are held in US, right? Primary, caucuses, electors, state, general election, then step by step indirect democracy. You are choosing your group of people for the US Congress, because then they are going to vote. They are going to vote for the eventual president, right? Convention. It was not that difficult, I guess. National convention, general election, and popular vote. We also have this concept in pol science, which is not very much applicable here in the Indian setting, is the idea of political populism. Now, these days we are speaking about it. Just think about this term, political populism. It comes from that idea of having a popular image and all that, but it is beyond that. Just think about it. Basically, populism is definitely, political populism is when any party is really so much merged with the citizens at the national level that there is a kind of obvious thing that, yeah, they want it and we are with them, and that's how the country, and that's why this kind of political populism. Yes, but that's different. Identity politics is a bit different, that we will, but think, and we will talk about it, this idea of political populism. It's a technical thing about political populism, but then because see, in democracies, we are always juggling around with new trends in a democracy as well, as and when they emerge, right? So electoral college, elector is casting a vote, and the candidates who gets more than half, that is 270, wins. General election and popular vote. National convention, that who will be the presidential nominee, and then that presidential candidate chooses the vice president. Primary election and caucuses. Primary is a vote to determine who will represent the party. Caucuses is a town meeting, like groups, where party will discuss who will represent them in the. So primary is basically an individual vote, primary. And caucuses is more like a, so this is a difference between a group activity and an individual activity, basically. And that's why it's a Latin word derived from these in mountain ranges. We also have in geography, you might have remembered Caucasus. Geography, may we studied certain mountain range in one of the European countries, Caucasus. So it's derived from that. So it's basically a cluster of small mountains. That's why they are named as, you can Google it sometime where they are located, somewhere in Europe, but I don't know. And that's why this word of Caucasus as well. This is the basic requirement without which you cannot even think of contesting for the presidential elections, right? General elections, national level, they are also used in state level. Then there are and that's how we had started this process of how primary elections are different from general elections. Voters nominate candidates in primary elections. So you see, in a different terminology, this was mentioned some time ago when this slide was displayed. Primary election, voter is nominating a candidate for the general election, and voters make final decision about the candidates and issues. Everyone votes for who they want after all. Then this star thing is, I think it's a bizarre random thing. I'm not sure, but I'll still look into it and see, get back to you on why is it like that. And then there has been a little bit of history about it, the way we have seen the development of the idea of political rights at the hands of American citizens. As time goes, I think here it's fine. As time goes by, sure, I may be confused. As time goes, this is a very, very technically English thing. And this is how party system had started in the United States. Yes, online students, did you understand? Did you get an idea about the way elections are held in United States as a feature of indirect democracy? Yes, Raman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. When we look more into the American political system, we will understand better. Maybe we will also see some precedents. We will also see some scandals and impeachments. And then we will do a recap and revising of the way. You should all know the way elections are held and clarify with me as much as possible the way they are held, because it's something very, very basic. Every time elections are held, because without elections, a democracy cannot really run. Basically, it can't really run. Democracy is unviable. And how those elections are held, what is the process? That's what we are going to see, or that's what we have explained here. Yes, unmute yourself when I call out your name. Raman.
Present, sir.
Yashi.
Present, sir.
Kelvin.
Present, sir.
Arif.
Yes, sir.
Gauri.
Yes, sir.
Manas.
Present, sir.
Tushar.
Yes, sir. Present.
Nidhi.
Yes, sir, present.
Brijen.
Yes, sir.
Matilda.
Present, sir.
Aditi.
Present, sir.
Mudit.
Present, sir.
Vanshika. Ram.
Yes, sir.
Karan. Karan.
So present.
Okay. Shreya. Shreya.